Well, hello everybody. I have been asked a few times now of like, how do I approach my day to day? Like, what's my system for getting stuff done? Because I've had now almost 10 years like actively studying this stuff. And so there's some cool things I've learned. At the end of the day, you're going to have your own unique thing. I'm basically just going to give you a bunch of vocabulary and ideas and stories of stuff that's worked well for me, so I can get a lot more done in a given unit of time. So let's just dive in. If you haven't seen any of my videos, my name is Mitch Snyder, and I make videos on personal development and how you can make a huge impact in the world. Um, got a family, all that stuff. So I love this just because it's like giving out value, and then you help people get results, and then it's like people can kind of see what you do and how good you are, and then you can work together over time. We're entering a new economy of like a creator. Um, it's just an interesting shift that's happening, and the more you can just give value to begin with, people notice that. So this is getting things done. All right, so why productivity matters. I heard this the other day, that every day you get exposed to 30 gigabytes of information. It's somewhere like 170 newspapers of you like reading and processing. Well, not even keyword, you're not processing it, but you're getting that stimulus, that input, and then you process some of it every single day. 30 gigabytes. Some of you, like me, I'm in business, like I actively read. I'm sure I'm way over that. Some people, if you live in the middle of the country and you don't see billboards or listen to the radio or anything, maybe it's a little less. Nonetheless, that's a lot of data. I mean, think about how much that would just fill up a computer rapidly. Also, why productivity matters is United Nations got it right here. Look at this: 800 million jobs expected by 2030. Robot automation will take this, from BBC. How crazy is that? Okay. So if you're not actively working to expand your abilities, what the heck are you doing? Okay. And then also why productivity matters, and what I'm going to talk about here is leverage. It's using software, basically like note-taking apps, or you can do it physically in a journal, but it's a way to capture your mind and your thoughts. Now you have leverage because now your mind is freed up to think about more creative problems to solve. So there's an inherent leverage in this too. Really cool concept I heard the other day too on this is like it's a cognitive exoskeleton. So much as you have your own process for working through your inner stuff, like I have many tools that I talk about and kind of a stack of development every day that I do. And it works extremely well. Been doing it now for 4 years, specifically this one, almost 4 years. And I've never noticed such profound change in my life. But now this is more the external. So this is like the notes on your phone, how you use reminders, all sorts of things. If you bookmark stuff, what your email inbox looks like, all that is your second brain. And your second brain isn't just one app. And I'll get to this in a moment. But let me just add a little more context here. And then I'll really paint the picture of what is the second brain and why is this valuable. It's because learning is power. Like, consider right now, the most expensive mistake you're making is that you don't know how to make $1 million this year, year over year. That's just knowledge, and that gets you power. It gets you influence. You might have some reaction to the word power, but another way of looking at power is influence. Influence in the world system, influence with others, influence with people who you care about, influence with yourself. When you say you're going to do something or not do something, do you follow through on that decision? Do you have commitment? And learning is essential to that. Learning is like the fuel for that. But if you don't have good structure for your information stream, we all know that. You can see it on other people where they're just overloaded, or they're addicted to their phones and they're looking for the dopamine hit. It's like that's you not using your second brain effectively. Everyone has a second brain already. Whether you like it or not, you do. And it's your preferred way of taking notes. Some of you go, paper and whatever. Some of you, it's everywhere. It's Post-it notes everywhere. Some of you don't have a cohesive place for everything. So how did I get involved in this? And I'm going to teach you a bunch of really cool stuff throughout this too. So yeah, I make videos like this of just stuff that I see is really valuable, and I get asked this a lot. So I just want to automate certain parts of what I do. And then if you find value in this, let's collaborate. Okay. So years ago, I went to Brazil. I lived there for 6 months because I wanted to just get out of Minneapolis, where I was born and raised, Twin Cities area. And so I went to Brazil to really put myself to the test. And actually, right before I left, my brother, he gave me a journal. It was like just a gift, because he traveled in Australia for a little while, and he was like, yeah, it was a helpful thing for him to have, just to kind of record your thoughts and all that. Little did I know that that would open up huge doors for me. So I would keep like cool quotes from books. Um, I would sometimes like sketch stuff in there if really was cool quotes I heard, or I would read books and get ideas, or I would also put in like affirmations, like different things I wanted to have happen in my life. Little did I know there's a lot more to it than just writing stuff down. Um, but this was my beginning to it. So the term for this that I've heard that is just cool, I didn't even know this was a Wikipedia page. You can look it up on Wikipedia. It's called knowledge management. And I'll just read it in case you're listening to this. Knowledge management is the collection of methods relating to creating, sharing, using, and managing the knowledge and information of an organization. And or it could just be you. You could be a solo organization, right? It refers to a multidisciplinary approach to achieve organizational objectives by making the best use of knowledge. So just think about it, all the good stuff you know. And this could be like the context in your phone. Or how do you approach texting people? You know, how do you use a calendar? Do you have a digital calendar? Or what do you use for tracking your time in your meetings? I can guarantee you, the more intentional you are about seeing what is your second brain and just having just like a pulse check with it. You don't have to spend all day on this, but by no means should you. It's cool vocabulary to kind of think about. So that's knowledge management. I read a bunch of books, like some Peter Drucker stuff. It's called Managing Yourself. I met a guy named Ty Lopez. I'll tell you the story in a minute. But he was the first person to really introduce me to like reading actively to hunt information to become very effective in whatever your endeavor is, business, all that. So the let me actually flip this. I'm putting the journal here, right? You're seeing this real time. Just make this. I use Notion. Notion is kind of cool. Don't get lost in this stuff, guys. Don't get lost in it. You'll see this, your mind, your dopamine will go, oh my God, I need to now reorganize my life. Before I go do the thing I have to do, go do the thing. Just use this to support you. Some of you might have to walk through this and fall on your face, and then you'll learn it later. But some of you have the discipline to realize, okay, what if for 10 minutes a day, when I just either end my day or start my day, what if I have a little check-in with my to-do list? That's basically what this is. It's helping you build a system to check in with your to-do list and your calendar. Morning, evening, I do it twice a day, one to start the day and one at the end of the day. I put some questions in there. I read a lot of books. I'm always like ideating on things, and I have a lot of projects. So it's that whole system. So it started as a journal. I'd write what I'm grateful for, things like that. Didn't really change my life, except for I just got to start to kind of see my mind. But then I heard about something called a commonplace book from this book called Where Good Ideas Come From. A guy named Stephen Johnson. Watch the TED Talk. There's whiteboard videos. I would watch 2 or 3 book summaries on it. It's really cool. He talks about how like coral reefs, how they're like a decentralized intelligence system, but they're alive. Like all of a coral reef is alive. He talks about like swarm intelligence. So like there's these things called slime molds. It's like, I guess, a bacteria. It's some form of slime. And there's no centralized brain. It's like when you see birds flying around and they're all like perfectly communicating to each other, or fish, they have those big swarms. He explains like what that actually is. It's a phenomena where it's how like individual components talk to each other. It's a system, really. But a way as a human to create a system for yourself, by yourself, that can support you is called a commonplace book. So I've kept this since that time when I was in Brazil, and then I kept it. I go through probably 2 journals a year. I don't have mine right on me, but it's like one of those Moleskine journals, however you say that brand name. Or you could use anything, notepad, but something where you have some sort of, I'm just going to encourage it. This is what worked well for me. You do what you want to do. But having one like main journal that I kind of prioritize, I basically distilled the gold into it. I'll talk about distilling in a moment, but that's huge. So, if you watch my other videos, I talk about this thing called TechnoTutor. It's the ultimate tool for learning, and really like learning at this deep level. Like you got to get all this stuff now through your TechnoTutor, so you actually learn it. And then when you have that, like I would say, quote unquote, my favorite things, or like the most important things I put through my TechnoTutor, I'll also put into my commonplace book. I just call it my journal, but it's like that main one you have. So it's really just like refined thoughts are in there. I have other notebooks for just sketching ideas and all that. But that was the beginning of this idea of really understanding, where do good ideas come from? What sparks innovation? And there's a time for innovation and there's a time for not innovation, everybody. Another huge point. Now you might see this, now you might go crazy. I know a young version of me would have gone crazy. I thought, oh my gosh, I got to now reorganize my entire life and look through every last bookmark I've ever bookmarked and know what I have. Like, I was like a hoarder of information. And to this day, still, I mean, if I were to look at my bookmarks and stuff like but I use them effectively as possible. There's always going to be a little gray area, but every day I just do the most important thing. And that's the main part I'll talk about at the end is you got to go take action. Use this to support you. Now, innovation is an important part of life. If you're not getting feedback and growing and learning on some level, remember learning equals power. I would call real innovation is like new ideas that support the growth of you, really, as you as life. So these good ideas, you can create an environment to make them happen. Good ideas come from a bunch of other ideas pushed together. Like, it's really interesting. The guy who discovered the fact of the how do you call it? Like the hexagon shape of whatever the molecule was, carbon, right? He couldn't visualize what it was. And the story is, at least, he went to a museum and he saw the Greek mythological idea, you call it. It's called the Ouroboros, which is the dragon eating its own tail. He saw that, and that made him think of that shape, which then led him to think of the hexagonal nature of, I believe, is carbon. I don't know. You can read it in the book. You can look it up. One of those guys had come up with that. They talk about the guys who started the internet. They would read encyclopedias as kids and just mash all these different ideas together. Like, I'm so excited for some of the families that we have around us in our network with Self-Perfected. Some of these kids, like, shout out Max, he's 6 and he's doing electronic circuits, but he's also like riding ATVs. And he's, learning about gardening, and he's learning how to sell. He's learning how to talk to people, have a little soap business where his mom makes soap and he goes and sells it to people in town. He's 6. Think of all those good ideas that are compounding. Imagine in 20 years. Like, that's going to be remarkable. So I was really fascinated by this, where good ideas come from. They talk about something called the adjacent possible, where new things open up over time. So like me making this video, now new things are going to come from this that I didn't necessarily have in mind right away. So it's fascinating vocabulary on good ideas and innovation. Again, in a healthy amount, innovation is really cool. We need it to keep going. But look at your body. Does your body innovate that much? Not really. Imagine if your heart was always trying to innovate, how much time you would waste. You're trying to innovate how you breathe. It's like, sure, you could innovate remembering to breathe through your nose, because it's overall way healthier to breathe in through your nose, and then you can breathe out either way. But like, that's from a book I read, So it's like, you get all these good ideas. You can innovate a little bit how you live. Now with Ty Lopez, and he introduced me to all this just wealth of wisdom of really understanding, like, how do the billionaires, how do the people who really have huge influence in the world, how do they think? And a lot of them read for 4 to 8 hours a day, just reading newspapers, magazines, books. They're keeping up on trends. They're just processing information. And then they make a couple decisions every day that change the lives of arguably everyone on the planet, because they're literally moving markets with their decisions and their financial policies. Now imagine you could get to that level too, right? The whole reason I'm sharing all this stuff is to help you actually become equipped with really helpful stuff like this, the second brain, the whole cognitive exoskeleton. I love that phrase for it. Again, don't get lost in it, but just realize you already have this within you. You already probably keep a journal. You write your notes somewhere, but if it's not organized, well, consider you're missing out. So there's one other thing too that really planted a main seed for me, and this is just helpful with kind of backgrounds. It's called Scrum or Agile philosophy. So when you're getting a project done, let's say there's 5 parts to the project, right? Let's say you want to publish a blog online to have more people, I don't know, join your Facebook group, right? This is what I'm going through right now. And I'm sure you could relate to this. Imagine you have a cool Facebook group, great community, and you want to grow it. So you have phases to the project. Like, one is just like assign what done looks like. Then next is like every day you check in and you talk about what obstacles are holding you back. So you just go through the process, right? And you get the email servers, and you'd come up with the marketing copy and all that. But it's like at every phase, you're rapidly checking in with the team and making sure it's all going according to plan. And you're just constantly innovating and iterating. And it's called agile philosophy, because imagine if you're like, okay, we're going to launch this project, but we're not going to meet for 2 weeks. It's like, why? What if we just met every day for 10 minutes? And we had a certain structure to the meetings. So it's really changing the philosophy around how meetings happen, which is huge, because every day you should actually be having a meeting like with yourself. Every week I have certain meetings with myself, like weekly reviews, even daily reviews. I don't do them perfectly, but I generally have like 3 main things I want to get done every day, and then a skill that I want to build. And I play around with this stuff. So that's just helpful background. Now, for getting things done, the biggest pivot that I had, so I was living in Newark, New Jersey. I did the mastermind with Ty Lopez. I was like fascinated by him, and I went through his 67 steps, and yeah, it was cool because I was running a digital marketing agency at the time. A lot of people don't even know this story, but I lived between Boston and New Jersey for 2 years, and we ran a digital marketing agency, and we had decent success. We were good at getting people LinkedIn connections. We basically had a bunch of people we could outsource work to, but we had assembled the network. So we had a lady who was great at LinkedIn. We had great Facebook ads people. We had people who could write ClickFunnels websites, things like that. Build email servers. But I had to learn how to do everything to make sure it was getting done well. And I was like, okay, I have to figure this out. And one of the most helpful books I found at the time, I don't recommend it anymore. I don't think you need it. There's a better system, but it's called Getting Things Done, by David Allen. He's like the godfather of this stuff. So that's summary. The best thing I found from that is just called 2-minute actions. So everything on your to-do list should be something you could do in 2 minutes or less. So if it's like pay my taxes, the actual 2-minute action would be setting an hour in your calendar to actually get it done. And you would specify the workload. But if it's 2 minutes and you're like, oh, I just have to reply to that text. I mean, technically, the moment you think of it, you should do it if it's 2 minutes or less. But if you can fill up your task list with things that are 2 minutes or less, that's like the heart of getting things done that I loved. And also that you have like places where you throw knowledge. So if you see a cool book or a PDF or something you want to read, but you don't have time, how do you sort that as resources versus how do you make something actionable? Like, let's say you run a local meetup, and you have to make sure that the meeting is reserved from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. And now the lady at the desk wants to talk to you because she wants to better understand, how it's going with what you're doing and if you need a new space, right? So there's like all these different dynamics unfolding, especially when you're out there directing reality and making things happen. And so to help you get things done, that's the essence of it, is having a system for this. And I'll explain a really good system right here at the end. But then I went to like conferences. One was called GST for Get Shit Done. That was interesting. And I really learned by baptism by fire. I'm working with this guy, Gerard Adams. It's awesome. He got really big on YouTube. He had just sold Elite Daily for like $50 million. And then our team, the digital marketing agency, actually, one of my business partners met him. And then we became his team and helped him scale out a social impact accelerator, is what it's called, in Newark, New Jersey. And then, so that was my baptism by fire. So I became Gerard's right-hand man, helped them organize everything and have project management, oversee jobs. It was really fascinating. Because once you understand the basics, you can get pretty good at this stuff. And then it's like, okay, how good can I get? So it's not difficult. It's just like, I wish I learned this stuff when I was younger. Then fast forward, a couple more things before I give you like the actionable piece. But all this builds. So you might have your to-do list, right? You got your overview of your projects, whatever, your life goals, different aspects of your life. Then how the heck do you organize this thing? Because you don't have enough time to get it all done, and you never will. That's the beauty of it. Just make peace with that. But I knew another guy named Peter, and he lived out in Orange County, and he had done the David Allen stuff too, and we became friends, and he, helped me with some, just in general, like business advice and things like that. It was fascinating. One day he told me how he does his whole list is 4, 3, 2, 1. 4 is the most important, but he explained it like this. He said he called it carving impact. So which is going to be the biggest amount of impact you can do? And if you really sit down and think about it and you do this for a while, you'll get good at it and you'll realize, ooh, there's 4 people I could talk to today, but that one is going to lead to the most good. It's a skill though, and it's developed by doing. It's not by sitting back and thinking, okay, what's the biggest impact? Like if you're not already putting in a solid freaking 8 hours a day toward your actual like impact and like putting in the effort to understand this, if you're not doing that already, like cool, let's get you working on that level because it's very fun. Like I do this out of necessity. Like the second brain stuff. I mean, think you have your banking, you have your YouTube videos you want to watch, you have your entertainment you want to have. Like you can have a system for all that. So how do you coordinate it though? Yeah, it's your to-do list, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then the other part is next obvious action. So it's always asking yourself, like instead of putting on your to-do list, pay my taxes, you would say log into tax, website, and uh, sign the paperwork, or like be more specific. So when you read it, it's like the information's already distilled. So now your mind doesn't have to spend all this time going like, oh, what did I mean, and what's my accountant's name, and oh, I got that email, and then you just get lost in the sauce, and then you end up scrolling. As opposed to being like, okay, cool, I'm hyper focused, got it. Like who do I need to talk to in what order of events? And it's almost like you're giving yourself a prompt, kind of like those of you who use GPT. You're almost prompting it. So make it easy for yourself. What's the physical steps? Log into tax website. You could even put the URL. At that point, you should just do the dang thing. But, or open Messenger and send message to, and then do the 8 names at once. So learn to batch things. And then one of the other things, I made another podcast on this. I think it's like episode 9 or 10. Honestly, I don't know. But the Purpose and Reality podcast, listen to it. There's a lot of good stuff in there, and it's going to get really, really good. Like now I have a lot of attention to put on it. I had to launch it before the Self-Perfected event, but now that that's done and now like I'm stabilized here and everything, like I'm going to keep bringing on really awesome people. Okay, so RPM is the one other thing. It's like the rapid planning method, but or results, purpose, and then okay, I just glitched right there. But yeah, RPM is results, purpose, and then massive action plan. And what that means is you say the result. What do you actually want? Like define what you want as a specific outcome. So you want to get, your business to a certain level, or you want to, let's say your outcome, you run a local meetup and you talk about self-development and you bring people together. And your goal is you want to get 250 people to there. Okay, that's a goal. It's a worthy goal. So now you get 250 people there. That's your result. But then underneath it, and this is what's interesting, is you just add a little one-liner for why. Why are you doing it? And just you might be like, it's I'm going to enjoy it so much, or I'm doing it because I want my son to grow up in the best community with a bunch of peers, and they can change the world together. It could be a big purpose like that. It could just be like, it's going to feel so good to, finally complete this task. But you just write down why right underneath it. And then that's where then you do the massive action plan. That's more on a project basis, but ideally, it's just automatic. You should know your why all the time, and it comes through everything. But in the process of you getting there, I know some of you will actually get a ton of impact out of the RPM. And then M for massive action plan. So put down those little 2-minute actions and things like that, right? So now, finally, the point. Second brain. This is pretty cool. It's basically, the whole ecosystem, and it's trusted. It's a trusted ecosystem where you can capture your notes reliably and that you understand what's in there. Okay, so cool way I've heard this. Code, this guy Tiago Forte, he has a book called Building a Second Brain. There's his talk he did. If I were to recommend one of his talks, it would be on a channel called Big Think, and it's called like How to Be Creative like Da Vinci or something. It's pretty cool. He goes a little bit into this, but it's more like I thought it was very well done, honestly. He summarizes a lot of things, and there's not much fluff in there. But code is capture, organize, distill, express. So this is like all information that's coming in, right? You're going through a course and you're taking notes, or you're reading a book, or you're trying to coordinate, that meetup you're going to do, right? And now you're like, okay, well, how do I run a good meetup? Maybe search ChatGPT, 10 awesome icebreaker questions for a self-development meetup. And you look that up and you get 10. Great. Well, now you got to capture it somewhere. So put it in a note. Like I use Notion. You can use Apple Notes. Do something that's frictionless. So I did Apple Notes for years. Apple Notes is amazing. If you have Microsoft or whatever, just whatever the easy notes app is. And just start with something and you can always improve it later. So you capture that. And maybe at the top you would write event, I don't know, you could do the date of it. Let's say the event is August 1st. You'd be like, August 1st event. And now you just put everything in there. Then over time, you're gonna have to organize it. So, you put 10 different things in there. Well, it helps to organize. This is the next part though. So you could organize by category, whatever. But now distill, this is a part that I had missed for a long time. So this would mean summarize your notes a little bit. Make it easy for yourself when you go back through and you're scanning. Maybe you bold stuff. Like notice with this, I organized what I was going to talk about here, but then I distilled it by making some stuff bold. And I do it with intention. Like everything I do is with intention. You'll see this. Tools, for example. And then it goes in on here. It's, the tab over. And these are each sections. So as you look at this, right, it's bolded. It's pretty easy for me to now look at this. I could have even gone a little bit above and beyond and be like, collection of methods. I would say this is the heart of it, right? If I'm distilling this down, knowledge management, collection of methods. See, there's a lot. It's like signal to noise ratio. Pretty interesting. This is the signal. The rest is just noise. But there's some value in the noise too, right? If you know how to look for it. Again, don't get lost in this, guys, but it's cool to do 1 or 2 deep work sessions on this to push yourself to that next level of activity that you can do. This might be a missing piece. You might be at capacity right now. So you capture the information, you organize it. So you put it by category, whatever. Then you distill it. So maybe you reread it one more time, you bold the important stuff, make it easy to use. And then finally, this is what the Tiago guy says is express. But I would just say now go apply it. Go live it. If you just, learn those icebreaker questions, test them out on people too. Promote your meetup. Say, hey, looking forward to seeing you at the meetup. We have some, cool icebreakers planned. Here's one of them, just so you can get a taste of it. Boom. Think that'll light up someone's day if it's a good icebreaker. If it's not a good, double check your ChatGPT work. But anyway, so that's a cool way of looking at too information in general. You read a lot of books in your life. You've probably even organized your books. But now have you distilled it? Have you taken it into your own notes? Have you brought it into your life? And then express it. Have you internalized it now and now use that to create anew? And then it's even more valuable, potentially. Now, last thing, just some basic tools. I use the Notes app, and I just have one main note. Literally put all caps, put your favorite emoji, and then call it main note. And that's where you can put or you could call it main to-do list. That's where you put all your to-dos. And then the other one is like main reference. And then, or it could be a folder, and then it's just your reference folder. So, books you want to get at some point. It's not actionable, Maybe you have 50 books you want to read, but it's not actionable. You just need a place for that. So you need a place for that, and then the projects. Calendar, if you don't use your calendar, you should definitely use Google Calendar or something like it. And then block time for you to get stuff done. Otherwise, your calendar will get filled up. So the most important stuff you got to do. And I would really encourage you, come on the Self-Perfected Friday night calls, 5 to 6 p.m. Central every single Friday. Amazing community where we talk about stuff like this, and we're all implementing it, and we're all perfecting ourselves. We're perfecting our process. Really cool stuff. So put that in your calendar every week. Make it a recurring event. If you need to watch a little 5-minute demo on Google Calendar, just get the most out of it. Like, calendar changes your life. The root of the word calendar is call. And I was looking up etymologies, and I have another video I just posted on etymology too. You can check my YouTube. But it's like you're calling. You're calling in your calendar. It's like it's within it. It's call. So will you answer the call, or will you ignore the call? Do you have shit in your calendar that you don't do? That's come on now. And then I use Siri or whatever you use. But for example, every single day at 9 a.m., it's right after I finish a meeting with my team. I have a little bit of time to just get clear for my day. So if I have something I got to capture, and let's say I'm just busy with someone, or I'm walking around or holding my son, right, walking around with him, I will say, Siri, remind me tomorrow at 9 a.m., blank, blank, blank. And you have to speak, you have to enunciate it still. But like, y'all, tech is going to get way crazier. So this is going to help you kind of just take stock of what you already have. Okay. And then you can build on it, iterate on it. And then last thing I would just say is do the one thing every single day. The one thing you don't really want to do, the one thing you're resisting, the one thing that's actually going to move the needle forward that you probably resist and you fear, Do that every day. Put in 90 minutes to 8 hours of that. All right. And then report back how it goes. See ya.